All right, welcome to the Loyal Locals Lounge, the Locals Only Lounge, the LOL. I don't know what this podcast slash video is called, but we are here. I'm your host, Andrew Dyer. Joining us in the lounge, we have the revered, esteemed, prestigious um, God Emperor President of the Locals, Steve Brockoff. Steve, how are you tonight, man?
Man, you honor me. It says right here, I'm just loosely
involved.
Come on. No, I'm great. I'm excited. Excited to be here. Excited for the week. Excited for season 4. Let's go.
And of course, producer John Cross joining us. John, I feel like we just talked. How are you doing?
I feel the same. I'm doing well. This is going to be a interesting switch, these back-to-back shows. I'm kind of switching gears to the other stream, but excited to get the lounge kicked off again. And I'm probably just going to be here for a little bit till Jason Radcliffe comes on, and then I'm going to turn it over to the three of you.
So I do want to just say, because I don't know how people are consuming this podcast slash video. If this popped up on your podcast feed and this is the first thing you're listening to, you missed the Loyal Locals podcast, which is also in your feed that you might want to go back and listen to before you listen to this podcast, because this is the lounge where we are going to expound on all of the brilliant nuggets of information that we touched upon in the other podcast. So listen to that one first, come back to the lounge. It's a little more freewheeling, a little more engagement with our live audience. And yeah,
that's like the main event, and this is like the after party, and I'm just showing up to party.
Now, I will say, if you're here,
that's why you're loosely involved.
Yeah,
if you're here for Steve, then stay right here. Don't go to the other pod, because Steve ain't on that one. You're not going to get Steve. But here,
you guys did the hard work. I'm just here to party.
All right.
Good shout.
So, Steve, I don't see a rundown for this show, so I'm just going to start. Steve, let me ask you, what is it about season 4 of the Locals? Now, this is when it's like, if you were talking about a TV show, right? Season 4 is when they get either really good or really bad, right? Like, you don't. What are we looking at? Season 4 Locals.
Yeah, I mean that's a great comparison, and let's go completely down that rabbit hole, right? Season 1, the pilot was like banging, like hell yeah, that pilot was a banger, and then the rest of season 1 sucked.
And then it got canceled.
Yeah, exactly.
So like Family Guy, we by popular demand, the show reboots, and we're back. Season 2.
Exactly. Season 2, we ramped back up to normal life. Season 3 last year, pretty good. Yeah, great year. Overall, I'd say the ending was, the finale was pretty piss poor, but here we are, season 4, hoping to recover.
It was quite a cliffhanger. I'm gonna jump in. I know I'm supposed to be giving you. Let me just say, if we're comparing this to like Prestige TV, it was quite the cliffhanger, because you have the completely incompetent, inept officiating that makes USL so frustrating, happening right in front of you. And let me tell you, man, I have watched that replay like it's the goddamn Zapruder film. I'm like, really? This guy,
I haven't gotten myself to do it. I really haven't.
Points at him, and the wind from his finger, like, the dude jumps back. It's like that Seinfeld episode with the loogie, and Kramer gets hit, right? Like, this guy, oh my gosh. Now, I will say there was, there was some physical contact. Now, did that contact, spread his brain matter all over the trunk of the car? No, it did not. But I've been over it. What a cliffhanger. The red cards, Guido's not going to be playing in this first match. Who else is missing in this first one?
Grant
Stoneman.
Mr. Yellow Card. Well, he's got himself a reputation.
So there is some drama, a cliffhanger. How does the team respond? Was this, bad officiating? And then players not keeping their cool. Is this a composure thing? Is this something to do with the the like, do they have the right stuff to persevere through adversity? Because let me tell you, these they ain't getting better.
Yeah. Yeah, and then there was that big scare in the offseason where, the PRO Referee Association didn't renew with USL. That was like a couple weeks there where they had no contract, and it was like, whoa, are we going to get worse referees? And then, things did work out with, how it is, Andrew, with unions and how, they just got to negotiate contracts, and things did work out in the end. But yeah, I don't foresee it getting better. I just hope it doesn't get worse. Because, yeah, I agree that was pretty poor, just overall game management. And we've seen time and time again how poor refereeing can really interfere with games. And it as much as I hate the cliche about blaming refs, because, you say at this level, even when it's bad, it's supposed to even out in the long run. Right? We're supposed to get bad calls against us, and we're supposed to get bad calls for us. But, man, it always seems like we're on the shit end of the stick when it comes to this kind of stuff. And I maybe it's just my bias, standing in 109, being a supporter of this team and forgetting about the calls that we do get. But I do struggle with some of the officiating sometimes, because as much as we love this game, we just want to see it called fairly. We just want to see it called fairly and watch our boys play the game we love against an opponent and not see themselves inserted, the referees inserted into a game. So that kind of stuff bothers me, but it's going to be what it's going to be. And hopefully they persevere. Hopefully they can get, beyond poor refereeing decisions. And I think that, that guy definitely flopped, and Amon was unfairly red carded, but I don't think Guido needed to get involved as much as he did. And then Stoneman's second yellow later on was a fair second yellow. So as much as we want to blame the refs, and I totally do for the Amon one, I think that there's other forces involved that really made that game go as south as it did. And, I think that there's a lot to redeem ourselves from. So cliffhanger is perfect, because there's still a lot to be said, and how are we going to recover from that kind of incident and that kind of game?
So you may have noticed we have been joined by another presenter, host / guest on the lounge. I want to bring him on now and introduce him. Jason Ratcliffe, or what is your job with the locals? It's changed, right?
Yeah, and director of communications and marketing now.
Okay, that's the man now joining us.
Thanks for having me. You can't get rid of me.
So, what do you? I want to get back to prognosticating about the season and its larger implications, right? Because, in the context, right, soccer is so much more than what is right in front of you, right? There's this whole world spinning around it. And in San Diego, let me tell you, every time the words San Diego fall out of Don Garber's mouth, it just kickstarts this news cycle, this frustrating social media news cycle. Well, there is no actual news, but like like the turd in the toilet, man. The MLS rumors just keep swirling around this city and the implications for this club. So what, going into this season, does the performance on the field and what we do in the stadium as a section, as a supporter section, like, does it matter when it comes to like MLS and business decisions? Like, if we are the best, supporter group in USL, and we are the best home atmosphere in USL, is that even part of it, or is this just all about who has the dump truck full of money?
I think it depends on who that ownership group is that's coming in. I mean, we've seen it go both ways for MLS, right? We've seen teams move up that were in USL and they stay relatively intact. Name, colors, supporter group, everything move up. And we've seen teams and supporter groups be absolutely destroyed by the new group coming in. So I think I don't know if it's as much as what we do as it is the people who have the money and what decisions they want to make. We might have some influence on it. For me personally, I don't care. I am totally focused on, I know all that stuff's going on, and I'm one of the few people who's not a big fan of us going to MLS. I really like what we have right now, and I'm totally focused on this season. Like whatever happens, happens. I will stay with the club as long as it's the loyal. If it's not the loyal, I will reconsider. But as long, I have a team in front of me right now. I don't want to spend my energy worrying about what might happen. I want to put all my energy into 109 with this team for this year, because those are the memories I've had over the last few years. Yeah, we've had some seasons end not the way we went, and they've been frustrating at times. But I've had way more ups than I've had downs, and those experiences in 109 and with, my family that I have as part of the supporter group has been worth the ride every step of the way. So I just want to keep it going.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't agree more. It's like the way that I kind of think about it is, maybe that's some tip top of the mountain that you look at and you go, oh yeah, that'd be cool to get to. But at the same time, where I'm sitting at right now, I'm halfway up or whatever, because we actually have a team. And how long have we effing wanted a soccer club here to support like we do now? And the way that I'm sitting here, the view is beautiful, and I'm happy to sit here for a while and enjoy it. And maybe one day we get there, and that'd be cool. Or maybe this ownership group comes around and it's time to start climbing faster than we wanted to. Or maybe not wanted to. Maybe that's the wrong terminology. But the way that I kind of look at it, like, I'm happy right now, and if we got to move on and we got to move up and we got to get there, cool. But I'm not like I'm not like Jones in to get there. You know what I mean? Like, I'm happy. I'm happy where we are because I love, just like John said, I love this community, and I know that because I just think it's a when at this point. When it's MLS time, it's going to change everything, right? It's going to change this level that we have. It's going to change the intimacy with the club. It's going to change how we interact as a supporters group. It's going to change that kind of stuff, right? And am I mad about that? No, not necessarily, because it means that we're going to grow this community. And ultimately, that's why I do what I do, because I want to grow this community, grow this, I want to impact the community of San Diego in a positive way with the supporters group. Like, that's the whole point of this to me. But like, at the same time, I'm sitting here going, I think we are making an impact right now. And I do love this family we have. And I do love this group we have. And I do love this team. Like, there's a lot of aspects that I love right now. And I think that as things change, they'll change. But I think that, it's not a bad thing, but it's not a bad thing where we're sitting right now either.
It's like being a fan of Blink-182 when you could see them at a house show. And then all of a sudden you've got to go to an arena. Like, come on, man. I was here when I was like standing right in front of you, at some rinky club, and then you get on MTV and now you've got to go to like a big, huge venue to see a band you like, which might be that band, which I'm not judging you. Well, I am a little bit, but hey, you know what? They wrote about sombreros. Like, I cannot hate, but it really does. I mean, USL, I mean, maybe this is also partly like trying to like put positive spins on things, but the USL is a fun league.
Yeah.
It's not as, it's not, there is a range of talent in the league, but it's a really fun league. You've got these bad officials. You've got these stadiums that, looks like it's just like carpet on the ground. But then you have players who you can really get behind and you can really support, players that are on the rebound, players that are trying to fight their way back to MLS, players who are who were MLS players and are now in the last maybe the last half of their careers. You just have so many storylines and so many reasons to root for these players and for these clubs. This is not a $1 billion business, right? These clubs are financially, it's not a $1 billion business, right? So
No.
You're the fans like relationship with these clubs and with these leagues. It's just different than what you're going to get at MLS, where you're just another face in the crowd.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's different.
Go ahead, Jason.
It's different, right? Like, if you're looking ahead, and did you just get sushi delivered again? I've seen that face. It looks like you got sushi delivered again.
I did. Just give me a
Guys, eat
sec.
your sushi. Make us all feel bad again. I'll take over for a while here. Yeah, I think that there's a potential for it to be different. And I think it's more important for us to live in the moment, to enjoy these moments, to get out while we can. Because yeah, it's gonna change. The access, I think, is the big thing to me that will be the changing. And not just saying that as like leadership who, will I have the next president's phone number and he'll get back to me at 9:00 at night? Probably not. If you're an MLS, and I'm just a board member of a supporters group, things will be different. And players, we see it in major league, if you want to say that, the major leagues around the country. And again, I always go to Philadelphia, and sometimes you see these guys go out and wave around at a school or something, but they're not hanging out. Bryce Harper's not hanging out at Adams Avenue Theater or whatever it is on a Saturday night, just chilling and answering questions from whoever walks up. Like, I didn't get to be there, but it sounded like, that was a really special event. And those events have been special. Even last year at the kit reveal, was kind of my first time. I guess we were sort of out of COVID, and it felt like these players were like really approachable. And it was still kind of like, oh, those are the players over there. Like, look at them. They're the players, right? But, at the end of this previous season before that, where we had the meetup or the like signing thing, and it was just like all of them, every player is here. This isn't one guy that's doing a meet and greet and you have to buy a $20 photo for him to sign and stand in line forever. And like, these people are talking to you and they're real. You can see how they're real people, which Major League Baseball players are as well, but there's definitely a layer of insulation there that's not here, and that's cool. And it feels, you feel the word club. Like, do the Padres feel like a baseball club? Do you feel like you're part of their club? Like, come on, you don't, right? Like, I do, and I'm nobody. Like, I was nobody in San Diego soccer before. There's people, who were, and if you want to talk about Steve or Chris or David or whoever, people who were part of the San Diego soccer community, and I wasn't. And within a year, here I am, so I think that might be a little bit different, but just trying to enjoy it now. It's kind of like one of those things where, I don't know. I mean, I think probably if you asked 7 years ago if we wanted MLS in San Diego, a lot of people were campaigning for that, literally, right? So like, and we wanted soccer, right, more than anything. We got that, and we got to see this. And if we get MLS and there's just this 5-year window where we had this little thing that is a little inside joke to 1,000 of us when there's 30,000 at that stadium, I think that'll be pretty cool too. But just enjoying it now for what it is, not for what it could be, not waiting around.
Yeah, and I think the more we like continue to build at this level, better. Because like I said, I just think that all the rumors, all the groups, every year, every couple of years, every 6 months, whatever it is, there's this new article published or this new rumor, or this new whisper, or this new thing that this new group has come in and they want to bring MLS to San Diego. So it's like, yeah, this new group is still that same group and they seem very real. And it, there hasn't been a new blah, blah, blah since. So like, maybe this is the one, but maybe they're not, because there's so much hurdles and the expansion. I mean, Garber just came out and he said, oh, the expansion is going to be more than $350 million. Like, what's it going to be? Maybe they balk at that price and they move on. Like, but I still think it's a when, not if, and that maybe that when is 5 years, maybe it's 2 years, maybe it's 10 years, but I think it's a when. And I think the more that we continue to just focus on the team we have and put the work in and we lay the foundation, the stronger we'll be going forward. Look at a team like Cincinnati, right? They had an incredible group. Like we were talking about the groups, the teams that have been from USL to MLS or just MLS recently. And Cincinnati was a team that, was in USL and they basically demanded to go to MLS because their supporters and their fan base was so rabid that MLS couldn't ignore them anymore, right? There's other teams in Ohio, there's other teams in the Midwest, but they basically told MLS, we will go, like, because of their fan base. And that's incredible. And I respect the hell out of that. And then there's, St. Louis, like they're a historical soccer city. and they had a USL team, and MLS went in and stomped on them, and their supporters had to take a long time to come around to the idea to supporting that MLS team. And yeah, they did, and they just had their opening game, and it was a huge success. Great tifo, great atmosphere, great everything, great game. And I respect that they took their time to come around to that idea, because I would struggle with that too, John. Like you said, let's say some MLS team comes into town and they stomp on Loyal. That would suck. That would really suck. But would I want to give up what we've built with locals in this community? No. But would I want to support that team? No. So like, what would I do then? Like, what would we do then as a group? Not just me, but like everybody, as the community. Like, how do we make the decision? That's a really hard decision to make. How do we kind of come around to that idea? So like, yeah, there's a ton of things, and I see in the comments, I see potential in both leagues. Yeah, I do too. Like, I totally do. It's and that's like, you got to think about this stuff. You got to talk about this stuff, because like I've said 3 times now, I just think it's a when, not if.
Yeah.
I like what Jason said a little bit earlier, and I think I would have been in the same boat as what he described, that 7 years ago, if you would have asked me the same question about MLS.
Yeah, good point.
Sure, I was all about that, and I wanted what I wanted and I envisioned is what I actually have right now.
Mhm.
Right, that's what I dreamed of. I dreamed
Good
of being able to have a supporter group like we have, and being able to have connection to the club like we have right now. If you had said USL back then, I probably wouldn't have given it much thought. But the way the ownership group has built this team overall, and certainly there have been hiccups along the way, but overall, I'd say we've had it pretty good, and we have a good ownership group that does keep lines of communication generally open to us as well. And we have a supporter group that is passionate. And as I said before, I love exactly what we have now. And having this experience in USL has totally changed my opinion of where I would have been 7 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And as I said before, I'm happy to just, whatever happens. Those are things I can't control. But what I can control is all things we've been controlling over the last 4 years, and being in 109 and building this supporter group, and just connecting with the community. All the things that I have waited since I was a little kid to have in San Diego. I mean, I went to outdoor, I'll date myself a little bit, even just before the soccer's, outdoor Jaws games. So I remember having a taste of just having soccer, and then remember in high school the NASL folding, and then waiting forever for San Diego to have something. And we have had some stuff. We've had the Flash, we've had Gauchos, if we're just talking outdoor soccer. But they never quite connected until this club and this team. And as I said, I like what we have a lot. And I want to enjoy it for, hopefully it goes for the rest of my lifetime, but I'm going to enjoy it for as long as we can take this ride.
Yeah. I want to, I know this MLS question really dominates a lot of the speculative stuff that we have in Discord, and I want to take the opportunity to remind the audience that if you're not in Discord, to get in Discord, the link is in your membership emails. This is where these conversations are taking place every day. You can literally have the same conversation every day if you wanted to in the Discord.
Drive our moderators crazy.
There are members of the locals in the Discord who have this very conversation every single day. And you can be one of them.
Jump in tomorrow and just post, hey, so what's going on with Don Garber and MLS? If it's your first day in the Discord, just jump in, post that, and get ready to be
the link
to death.
is in your membership email. If you're not on Discord, or like me, you're like, oh, hell no, another app. Like, I know. But
It's worth it. Discord
is one of the ones that's worth it. You might find, apart from locals, several other communities on Discord that it's much more than what you get in like public facing social media. It's much more like the old internet 1.0 message board type environment. So if you, like me, are a Flame War veteran of the old message boards, it's much more that kind of vibe on Discord, except it's got all of the modern tech of what we'd expect in these platforms today. I do want to, because we can go down a rabbit hole with MLS and the stadium and the ownership and the politics and the supporter group stuff. I do want to reel it back to what happens on the field this season, because we were starting to talk about season 4 and what season 4 is going to hold for us on the field. We lost a lot of goals. If you talk about who scores goals for this club, we lost some of those goals. Where are they going to come from this season? Was this, like has been said, addition by subtraction? We lose Kyle Vassell. We lose Thomas Among. We lose Andrew Carlton and his one goal. What are we going to be able to recreate those goals this season? And I will leave this up to the floor. Who has a take on this? Because I don't know.
I don't either.
I'll start.
Go ahead, John.
I don't. I could be wrong, but I don't see that we match our goal total from last year, or that we're necessarily closer leading the league. I don't think we're going to be terrible. I do think we have a lot of capable people, but I think the team, just with what they brought in, is going to be a little bit different. And I really hope with the people we picked up towards the end of last year defensively, that we'll shore up the defense a little better. We had too many times where we got exposed on counterattacks because we just didn't have speed and stuff. I just remember that terrible 5-1 Galaxy game, but just some other teams we played where we gave up some goals that you could just see it coming right as it started to develop on the counterattack. It was just, I feel like we gave up 10, 12 goals last year that were absolute gifts. So I hope we clean up the defensive side. It'll be interesting to see how our midfield goes, because you're leaving someone, as several people have mentioned, you're leaving somebody on the bench always. You can't fit everybody, I think, on the field midfield-wise. All are good quality between Colin Martin and Charlie Adams and Guido and Joe Corona. I mean, to me, how do you fit all of them on the field? So how do you handle that rotation with all of them? Because as someone said earlier, you're going to have injuries. So I'm excited to see Conway up top. I really think he has the potential to be a good goal scorer and a forward there. I don't know how well he will hold the ball, but I think he is a threat with his. I think he's.
I'm calling it right now. Golden
people.
Boot. I mean, this guy is going to lead the league in goals. Conway, breakout star for USL this season. The European leagues are going to be banging our door down to get this guy. He's a world beater. He's going to score a hatful every game. It's going to be wild and crazy season. You heard it right here first.
Yeah, and I think that, I just looked it up. We scored 68 goals last season, and Kyle and Thomas had 25 of them. And that's a lot. That puts us back to what, 43 goals, and that's bottom of the Western Conference style type goal scoring. But obviously you're replacing minutes, that's not a direct substitution. But I also think that there's something to be said about, last year with some injuries and some midfield depth issues, Guido ended up stepping back a lot into the number 6, number 8 role. And I think that if he plays higher up consistently with, somebody like Joe Corona stepping back into the number 6, him and Charlie kind of maybe a double pivot kind of situation. I think that Guido playing up top more could be, produce some more goals. I think he only scored 5 goals last season. What does that say? Yeah, 5 goals. The same amount as Charlie Adams. So I think that, he could replicate a lot more goals. And everything I've heard about Adrian Perez is, incredible things. LAFC product, maybe hasn't never really played to his full potential on the field for a full season. But if there's one thing Loyal has done well,
I agree totally, Steve, with that. Um, I do want to point out Diego in the comments agree 100% with Andrew. You know, Diego, I couldn't agree more with you in agreeing with me. Um, Conway is going to have an incredible season and shatter lots of records. I do want to pick up on a little bit of what Steve was saying because it's absolutely true that Corona is going to be able to do more of the defensive midfield work. I think this team kind of we have these dynamic, talented players, right? Who are this team is built to attack, right? Like they play a certain style. It's this flex formation that looks one way when the other team has the ball, and it looks another way when we have the ball. And so, getting the extra depth in midfield, getting a little more of I guess, a variety, a range of skills in that midfield, uh, will help that. It'll help both the attack and the defense, and not to mention this back line having been together for this another season, a little more time to gel, communication. We are going to see more of some of the newer members of our defensive back line as they get more minutes in rotation. Um, I think from what we've seen in the preseason matches, it looks like um, I, I, I I think that we're going to see the style of play isn't going to change, but who is playing where and fulfilling what role might be tweaked a little bit. I've seen Nick Moon playing on the right side, whereas he played on the left side last season. I think he spent time like on the in the wing as a left, maybe a left mid or forward, and then later on the season as kind of like a left back, right, kind of playing that wing back role. In the preseason, he's been on the right side more. So yeah, I think that it's listen, like I've said, we're fan media. We're not objective sports reporters. So I'm going to err on the side that the team is better this year than last year.
I agree. We'll see. But what I will say about this year is that coming off of this season, coming into this season, I have more confidence in the system than I did the previous year. I'm well documented 2 seasons ago as being team through ball, right? Because we just
Did the horseshoe.
around and tried to loop these crosses in, and everybody says, well, a cross coming in from the wing is the most dangerous thing in the world. And I was like, well, not when there are these lollipops that we had no one to head them home. So you're looping these things into nobody, and the keeper just comes out and catches it, and then that's the end of it. I mean, that's what that whole San Antonio playoff game was. They let us have the ball for like whatever it was, 75% of the game, and we just lope it up the side and bend it in, and nothing would happen. Like it just wasn't dangerous at all. But
How
last
miserable
year,
would it be to have to be a counterattacking team and to be fans of a
yeah,
counterattacking game plan? Oh my gosh.
it's annoying.
The
So
most
last year they played more directly at Kyle Vassell, right, and did more of a hold up. But I also do think that at the end of games like Mong, who's obviously not there, but they have people who can step in there. Towards the end of games where you're looking at Conway, and again, we're going to keep coming back to him because I agree with everybody who agrees with everybody else. Like, I think this is this dude's year. Those minutes are going to be there. Whether the goals are there is up to him, right? But those Among and Vassell minutes have to go to somebody, and he's wearing the number 9 on his back right now, so they go to him, right? And I think it's a breakout year for him. I think it's a breakout year for Nick Moon. If we can, I love Nick Moon. I love Nick Moon. I know everyone does. But you got to put the ball in the damn net. Like You got to. And I love him. I love the way he plays. I love watching him play. I get excited when he's on the ball and he's taking somebody on. But the ball needs to be in the net, not in the stands. And I had conversations with plenty of people who will tell you, there's certain things where, oh yeah, well, if the player could do all those things you want them to, they wouldn't be in USL, they'd be in MLS, right? So, but for him, who's probably trying to get there, the difference between, I think he only had 4 goals last season, which seems wild to me. As good as he was.
Yeah,
but the difference of him going from 4 to, if he gets to 12 or something like that, for him personally, maybe that is a ticket to MLS.
I don't think he has to score goals to help this offense. If you look at if you look at this through a certain lens, right? Like losing Moon last season hurt the offense, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like we would lose Among for periods of time. The team still performed, but losing Moon, really
they didn't
hurt that attack. So I think Nick Moon plays such an important role in the overall attack of the team, because whether he's putting the ball in the net or not, the other team has to account for him because he's so dangerous and he's so fast and he's so good on the ball that he's like a disruptor. So, the overall offense benefits with him being on the field and performing, whether he's scoring or not. Now, I like goals.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. I would love to see him score goals.
Yeah, but if you're looking for something to replace goals, I think that's another place you look at, where you just look down and you're like, how did this guy only have 4 goals last year? Like, it felt like, again, he's such an integral part, and he's running at these guys, and then you see him score these goals where he's embarrassing people, and you're like, can you do that every game? Or, I remember his Tampa Bay goal is the first one that comes to mind, and then I believe he had another one on 4th of July against Colorado. Maybe I'm wrong there.
I mean, that's an all-timer. That's a highlight. That's a season highlight move, that goal.
Yeah. So knowing that that's out there and that's possible, again, is another place that could come from. So, and we'll see if maybe we see Elijah more forward this year, and what that does. But mostly I am excited to see what the defense looks like. We've been sold a bill of goods on Akan, on Ebby, that I really want to believe. And if everything is as they say it is, I'm really excited for that. I think it took a little, there was a lot of figuring out last year, kind of at the end with the defense, with him coming in and Jackson, and people were moving around and they weren't really sure. I think if they're going into it with a plan this year of this guy's going to play in the middle, I personally, I don't know what they're going to do, but I would do, those 3 center backs in the middle. And I said this all last year too. I was like, dude, until you stop giving up goals, keep someone else back. Like, it's okay to be more defensive. And they never really got around to that. But I think if if I'm playing FIFA right now, I put Grant Stoneman, my big man, in the middle, and I put Adams, who's left-footed and played left back 2 years ago. He kind of filled in and moved out. Put him on the left side and put Ebby on the right side, and those are your 3 center backs with probably Moon and Elijah, sorry, yeah. And Elijah, I just want to say EM3, but and Elijah as wings / wing backs, but you don't have to worry as much. Like, Elijah had to work his ass off so much in that shifting everything, shifting. So now he's the third. Really, he played as like the 3rd center back and then push forward. So I think this year you can go more just bang. We have 3 in the back, 2 wing backs or wing players, and then fill in your midfield, and you're probably 1 or maybe 2 strikers from there. I don't know how they'll do that, but yeah, I'm really I really hope that the offseason developing together has been good for them defensively. Steve, you're muted.
Hey, thanks. I said I know I cut out there for a while. My internet decided to die. But there's that big rumor about that other player who was a 2021.
And that changes everything, right?
No
Bringing an
MVP.
MVP.
You know, he hasn't been integrated into the squad yet, so he might be, you know, maybe not a day one starter or a day one contributor, but, you know, I think, you know, we're talking about Ronaldo Damas, the big rumor that he's signing with Loyal or on loan, not signing with, but, you know, acquired on loan for the season. You know, if you're unfamiliar with his game, he terrorized USL Championship in the 2021 playoffs and was the USL Championship final MVP. And he just very, very good player. If he comes in, if all this is true, if he comes in and plays and integrates into the squad, I think, I again, like I said, rumor, and you know, he's not here yet. I think it'll take time, but if things are true, I'm looking forward to it, and I think that could be a big factor in the goal absence sweepstakes.
Steve, I want to pause a second. Can you, because I don't know in the audience, what is it about USL and the way these player signings work? Why was there a post on USL that this guy's signing with Loyal? They remove it. It stays in the Google cache. Like, why is player signings? Why is it so weird in USL versus what we see elsewhere?
I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I think we fight the battle so much that USL is not minor league, and then this kind of shit happens, and then it's like so hard to keep refuting it, right? But I don't know. I don't know. I think that it was a big mistake, and if you know, I don't know. I think that there's a lot to be said about it, but
yeah,
there should be some. If the club is mad that it got out, rumor, they should direct their anger towards USL and not anybody else.
Yeah, I don't know how that oopsie daisy happens, but we do know that Loyal enjoy their big splashes. And you'll probably, you know, if this happens, like with Joe Corona, you'll see 14 different news outlets the second that it happens, you know, that, oh, the UT's posting about it and USL is posting about it, and everybody knew. They were just waiting to hit the button. And so that's kind of the club's MO from what I've seen. So yeah, maybe somebody just hit the button a little early, but I wouldn't be surprised if and when, you know, if it does happen, if this is really happening, when it happens, that it's going to be that same thing, that you're going to see the UT has a whatever size page write up with quotes from Landon and whatever, and USL's got a very well done piece. Like everybody knew about it except for us, but now somebody lifted the skirt a little early.
Yeah.
I'm just reminded of we had another player signing that was very strange. Well, we found out after the fact, right, that Cal Vassell was like, they were trying to get him on the team, you know, the season prior, right, and like he'd been in training and all this stuff, but for whatever, you know, visa, I don't know. I know.
Yeah, I think the visa thing, that's what we hear all the time. Visa issues.
But it is interesting that it seems to be more visa, you know, controversies around USL players than you hear about MLS players. And I'm sure that there's a level to that, right? There's got to be about, you know, an MLS player could get a visa easier than a USL player. But yeah, it does seem a little interesting that you pointed out that there. I know Ebenezer Akon too. He was, you know, signed or potentially signed, and they wanted him for a long time, and then there were issues with visas, and that didn't work out until later last year. You know, so it is interesting that you kind of point that out. It seems like there's been a few high notice players that have been hung up with visa stuff.
Yeah, and it's not even. And I said it was USL, but you see this in European football, right, as well, right? Where like there's rumors and they're like, oh, it's not official until the team announces it, because weird things happen. Like, you know, Ronaldo was going to City, and then all of a sudden United gets him, right? And it was like a rug pull, which
I think a lot of that is like agent play, right? But yeah, for sure, I hear what you're saying in general about visa stuff.
But I mean, these players in USL have agents too. I mean, they're not, you know, the same agents maybe, but yeah, I mentioned United, and oh gosh, I was just thinking about this last weekend, but this is a USL podcast and a supporter group podcast.
Yeah, this is the Locals Lounge.
Oh, this is the lounge.
This is where we can hang out and talk.
So I can just do a stream of
So-
consciousness digression because I was trying to think of like a really good joke about this, like maybe Manchester really is red, right? For Liverpool because sorry, that was all I had.
We'll workshop it. You weren't ready. It's fine. But yeah, there is. Yeah, I do. Two Balls brings that up. There's just certain things where, and again, I guess I do have the president's number. I could text him, but like, what does it matter, man? Who trialist number 47 is? Like, what are we? I don't know. But also, MLS does that too. If you're a fan of, let's say, the Union, they don't show their preseason games. Sometimes you get a sideline video of a goal that happened. They don't name their trialists. It's just very odd, and I don't know why or what. Like, it's not like we're going to hear, I'm sorry, what's his name? Perez's first name?
Adrian.
It's not like we're going to be like, oh, Adrian Perez, and then, like, I don't know, like, picket in front of the building if he didn't make the team or something. Like, I don't know what it matters if we know these dudes' names or not. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, I think that.
Yeah.
I mean, from some stuff that I've heard, it's sometimes it's by request of the player, and that has to be honored, right? But I think that other times, yeah, it's trying to gain some sort of an advantage, and I don't understand it. And I've been critical of the club for getting local news from OC, not posting about games that we should have been invited to, and I as president of the supporters group, I have conversations with Ricardo and with the club all the time, and I voice my opinions to them, and what they take into consideration and what they hear and what they act on is up to them, and I say what I desire to say. But yeah, I don't quite understand it either. I don't get it. I don't get it. What's all behind it?
They do seem to be a little bit responsive because after the thing with OC, the friendly that Loyal didn't post about, but OC did, we had the other friendly on Saturday, and all of a sudden Loyal are tweeting score updates and they're not giving the roster, but they are acknowledging that a match is happening and that a goal was scored. So,
Right. But for me, man, like, tell me about. I don't know. Is DCFC, like, if they say, oh, it was the 3 goals against Orange County were all Evan Conway, is DCFC then going to be like, hey, we should guard Evan Conway? I mean, like, let us see these goals. We want to see our dudes, man. We only have so, like.
Yeah, I mean, maybe I don't know. I'm like, honestly, man, I don't give a shit about the preseason. I don't like friendlies. I don't go to friendlies. I mean, I went to 2 of them, so I'm lying.
Right.
But I mean, like, I don't care about like the preseason. I've never cared about preseason. It doesn't matter. It's trialist. And Steve mentioned something I hadn't really thought of, but yeah, if I was a trialist for a team and I didn't make it, maybe I don't want that being out there. Like, oh, Andrew was trying over Loyal, but guess what? They shit-canned him. He sucks. Like, I don't want that out there. Like, so I kind of do get that. But, I maybe far be it from me to, like, play devil's advocate for the club, but, like, we are going to see our players score goals. Hopefully a lot of them very soon, right? Like, the season's coming. We are going to get to see this stuff.
Yeah.
And
I'm thinking of it marketing wise too, though. You're trying to sell these tickets. You're trying to fill. You're not filling a 6,000 seat stadium, and we don't have any video of the games that you have played. Like, you've got some running around pictures, some running around video that you're showing us.
Yeah, I mean, I think the difference is, like, because Andrew, I tend to agree. Like, I'm not gonna go. If I'm not at a preseason game, I'm just not gonna sit there and watch it. I'm just not. But you look at, I mean, and this is a different level, right? I've been a Padres fan my entire life. But you look at Padres preseason, and there's so much hype leading into the season. And I think preseason is about building up to the opening match, right?
Yeah,
and I think last season when they were like
home runs in spring training, like,
Yeah, and like last season, like they were like mega secret, right? Like nobody at games, no footage, nothing. And this season they opened it up to supporters, some of them here and there, and they planned on doing a lot more. Like, Jason, in that meeting that we had at the club, like, they talked about their preseason.
Yeah,
plans.
they did get screwed.
The big one,
Amir
Amir Costa got rained out. The college told him no. Like
the one in New York City got canceled by New York City.
Yeah, like they've had a couple that have really been unfortunate, out of their control kind of situations. But still, I mean, I think that there could be more hype leading into the season, right? There could be more like, hey, these guys are playing well, and this is what's happening. Like, here's some highlights or like whatever. Because my perspective on last season, when we really ripped them about being so secret, was like, okay, you be all secret about your tactics and your style, and then game one, it's out there. Like, you get an advantage against a good coach, maybe 15 minutes, and then they adjust their tactics to yours, maybe. Like, or maybe you're like set pieces and stuff like that, but then don't show highlights of corner kicks if you don't want that stuff to get out. But the rest of it, you've got maybe a 15-minute advantage for like sacrificing as much hype as you'd be getting otherwise. Like, that's my perspective on it, right? Like,
yeah,
give us highlights. Give us a highlight package, because I'm not going to sit there and watch 2 60-minute games of.
But that Nick Moon goal at LAFC, right? Like, how, I don't know, maybe it was just me, but like it kind of feasted off that for a couple of days. 2 balls, put up a video of it, people. But like we talk about, like, damn, look at that, look at us tearing through us. And yeah, I mean, maybe they're not all scoring against LAFC, right? But like, I want to let people get scared about Evan Conway, rising for a header or however these things are getting scored. Yeah. And don't show which way Joe Corona is going on a penalty kick. Fine. Yeah. Okay.
Right.
Like, that's fine. But like, let's get jazzed about something here.
So the Ronaldo statue reveal of that didn't get you hyped for the coming season.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't. And even with that, like the video they put out, I don't know. I was talking to a friend about it, and it seems like their marketing strategy is doing big things, like one big thing really well. And Ricardo put it out, quality over quantity, when he was kind of subtweeting 2 balls and people who were talking about BHM material. Like, he tweeted out the video of the barbershop and said quality over quantity. And I was like, okay, but like, you can still do other things. And yeah, they put out that like a really good video of the reveal today. But like, what, like, I don't know. And it's not, even though I'm our comms and marketing person, I'm not a marketing person. So I don't know how to tell them to do their job. Same thing with the Wave. I don't know how to tell you make it not a shitty jersey. Just make not a shitty jersey, man. Like, it's not my job. You figure it out. But there's just, it seems like they want to do a big thing, like really, really well, instead of, like a statue of Ronaldo.
That doesn't get you hyped, man. Come on.
Is that Guido or is that Colin?
You can't tell.
This looks a little
Duran.
bit more. It does look
Duran.
more.
That actually does look like Duran a little.
Looking
bit.
at the murals,
Maybe.
the Guido mural does have more in common with this face. I feel like they did a similar type of thing, whereas Colin looks more like the Jesus fresco that got its face wiped off.
Right. So when you say the Banksy thing, like, I get it, because Banksy's faces aren't like intricate faces. So you look at that, you're like, oh yeah, that's kind of how he does that, I guess. But like, you're making it of people. You're not making it of some faceless girl holding a balloon or like somebody in a gas mask. Like, these are people, that like, and we know you can do, I mean, they did it much bigger. So I assume that doing Jorge Alfaro's face on the side of a building is much different than, a much different art than doing it really small. But I mean, it's Colin Martin, like, you should be able to be seen in that community. And Guido, they should be proud of his face, not the jersey. I don't know. And they had time. They had time there in my thing. If they want to do faces, they could have put the whole person up and done the kit last, made the face perfect.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, and it was like a commissioned art kind of thing, right? So like the club, didn't paint the faces. So like I almost like empathize in the sense of like the shit the club is getting for what the murals look like because they didn't go and paint them themselves. At the same time, I think that there could have been some different approach to the entire situation that could have made it all better. So there's criticism to be had, but I also think that like I'm not going to sit here and defend the club like Andrew said earlier, because I think that I it's been an off season of, I think, fair criticism. But I think that in this case, it's a little bit of an awkward situation, right? Because it didn't turn out the way that I think anybody wanted it to. And I think that
No, it turned out much better. I mean, come on. It's fun. It's funny. Like,
yeah. That's fair.
Like, it's
That's
much
fair.
better. Like, it was just, okay. Again, here I am not defending, but like, you know, we fixate on this stuff because we have nothing else to talk about, right?
Because we care.
But like,
Yeah.
it's funny. The Ronaldo statue is funny. Like, it's fun. Like, it's not, I don't think it's indicative of like the club, yet another club failure, right? Like, yeah, it's something that
that's
could have
my
been better, right? But like, it's still not, you know, here's where I am. And I'm definitely kind of devil's advocating now, right? But, you know, at least they're trying to do stuff, right?
Yeah.
They are trying to take swings with the kit design, the stripe, right? If you want to make a kit that doesn't ruffle any feathers or that is totally safe, do what the Wave are doing, and just put a template, put your crest on the shirt and the sponsor, and call it a kit, right? At least they're trying something. You know, they could have done another outdoor thing at some brewery or something, but no, they do something different, right? Do the murals in the neighborhoods. They're in the theater. You know, yeah, maybe not everybody's going to like it, and some people are going to have things to say about it. But I mean, at least they're trying to do something.
I totally agree.
Different, right? So I can't. I mean, yeah, the faces, it's kind of goofy, and there's, you know, jokes to be made, but like, I don't think like it's, you know, a red flag for the season or for the state of the club or anything like that.
That's fair.
Yeah, I mean,
totally
and
agree.
plus it's just, you know, once we have some games to talk about and some performances and some goals and some refereeing decisions, like, you know, in a month we're not going to be talking about these murals at all.
I totally agree. I think the preseason lead up and some of the stuff we've been talking about is fair. But I think that once we're 3 weeks in, it's going to be, you know, in the distant past, and we'll just be so stoked on what's coming up this season. So.
Oh my gosh. I looked at the chat and I see one of those absolute degenerate crazy people who want collars on the kits. I don't know who these people are in the wild. I don't know where they come from. People want collars. They want long sleeves. Absolute maniacs. Absolute
I think they work.
Maniacs.
I think they work. I think they work under certain circumstances.
You're one of them.
I don't know. I don't love everyone, but sometimes you see a clean kit with the collar and it works. Like the current loyal kits, I don't think that a collar would work, right? But it's got to be the right design with the collar.
They're not playing golf. They're playing soccer. Like, I don't.
I agree. What year is it? Like, oh, you're off to the yard to play with the Harvard boys. What are we at Oxford? Like, what are we doing here?
But then you could wear your kit golfing, Andrew. Come on.
No, you got to have both so that you can get the money from both. You have to have a kit, and then you have to have a
There's
polo.
dozens of us.
I have to admit, Ricardo was at the scrimmage on Saturday, and I was like, listen, Ricardo. I pulled him aside and I got real serious with him, and I was like, a lot of people are talking about collars and long sleeves, and I was like, they're maniacs. I was like, they're insane. These people, do not listen to them. No, I have to admit to bending his ear on that a little bit. I'm sorry for all of my collar poppers.
I think too. I don't know. Maybe Two Balls brought it up. I don't remember who, but like seeing the kits on the field will also be different. So for me, I'm personally not going to buy them because I think I'll look silly in them this year. But on the like from far away, I think that stripe is going to look more like a nice accent than like a in your face like, oh god. So I think that could work out.
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
And what does it matter? That's the other point. What does it matter?
Yeah, I'm excited to see it. I'm excited to see him on the field. I think that, and there's another point to be made about the kits are the kits, and they had, I think last year's were incredible, and everyone had this incredible story behind it. And I think you can't do that every year, right? Like you can't, like their first year of custom kits, like they really banged it out of the park, right? And then at what point can you go, okay, well, we're going to do new kits every year, just like most teams do, right? We can't keep climbing some inevitable mountain. Like that's always going to get better and better. Like it's impossible. So like keep doing cool things, keep trying new things. Like I think the neighborhoods is pretty rad, even though there might be some missing. Like, but I don't know. Like you said, they're trying stuff, and it's a different spin on things.
Yeah.
You're not going to make everybody happy. And you can't keep getting better every single year. You can demand more, but I don't know. Maybe the stripe isn't for some people. Maybe some people love it. I think the away kits are really cool, and I think the keeper kits are really cool. Everybody's like disappointed. I'm like, what do you want? You want like these incredible kits to blow you away every single year? Like, this is not.
Yeah.
What Manchester United release new kits
spoiled.
every year, and they have like one little tweak, and people are like, "Oh my god, they're incredible this year!" And like, what are you talking about? It's the same boring kit.
I want them every year. I want to see next year, diagonal stripe. Year after that, the Alpo checkers.
I want checkers. I've been asking for checkers for years.
Year after that, Waldo stripes. Like every year, let's just
every year something wild.
Yeah.
Shit, yeah.
Why not? Because you can. And I to close it out, because we could talk about this all night, but I do want to say that in just generally to wrap things up, that your harshest critics are also your biggest fans. So for the fan media podcast crew and all of that, the only reason that we harp on this stuff is because we care and because we are the biggest supporters and the biggest fans. So
before we go,
here,
we got to get people out to the parking lot this Saturday. So if you're still hanging around, please come out. I'm not begging. This isn't a please clap situation, but tell people. I told my friends who are a new season ticket holder, like, hey, so what's it usually like? Like John said, if they're not going to open the gates until 6, like right before,
come on down.
There's no reason for you to not come down a little early and come out and tailgate. Like it is a tailgate. It is, it's the closest thing we have to a tailgate. We'll have free food. There's stuff for the kids to do, hang out, play some soccer, make some friends. So yeah, definitely. That's something that is one of our big supporters. One of the big things we do. For me, it's TIFOs, the bus trip, and the parking lots are the big events until we maybe grow some more events. That's kind of our big events, our big pushes, our big family.
You get to see the players walk down and into the locker rooms. We get to see them as they go on the field. Yep. Like there's some cool perks beyond coming out and hanging out with everybody, but you get to see them. You get to spend some time with them before the big game. Learn the new songs.
Yeah, we are going to do the new songs, and we want to make sure we're doing that because we're trying to get people out again Wednesday night, the 8th.
Tomorrow night.
Get over to Snapdragon either tomorrow night if you're watching, tonight if you're listening, and then we'll
Wednesday night to be clear.
Yeah, Wednesday night the 8th at 6:00. But I would like to. We are going to try and do it at this specific parking lot too, just so you can kind of hear, so everyone can hear them, because we know everybody can't make it out. But when there's a couple hundred of us there, that'll work out. So we're gonna try those, and so get there and be ready so that you're not.
I would recommend
looking at your phone and kind of humming along.
I would recommend coming to the drum circle. I know Chavos are pre-gaming at Deft, so some of the folks that are leading these new chants are not going to be there. So drum circle Wednesday 6:00, Snapdragon parking lot. Saturday 4:00, gates open at 6, games at 7. We are facing Detroit. I want to thank everybody for tuning in. If you are live, thank you so much for participating in the chat.
Thank you.
We are coming back next week with Loyal Locals podcast and another lounge for you. If you did not catch Loyal Locals podcast, please go back in your feed and check that one out too, because it's more of us, more of local content that you crave. Be on the lookout for the new pods. And so for Jason, Steve, and John, thank you so much for joining us. We'll be back next week.